Uh-oh. Uh-oh. You didn't break it, did you?
Yeah, still good. Good. Good evening. It's 6 o'clock. We're going to call this meeting to order. Great to see lots of happy faces in the room. Next item is approval of the agenda. Motion reads that the agenda for council meeting of Monday, February 26, 2024 be approved as presented. Can I get a mover and seconder? Councillor Young, Councillor McConnell. Any discussion? All in favor? Thank you, Ruth. Councillor Lockett is on the Zoom with us today. Thanks for joining us, Councillor Lockett. Item 3 is declaration of interest. Are there any declarations of interest today? Seeing none, we're going to move on. Item 4.1 is a very proud moment for our little town. As you can see, we have almost 20 of our volunteer professional firefighters here today, and we're gathered here today to present certificates of merit to 4 outstanding firefighters that have given many years of service to our town. So I'm going to pass the mic over to the chief to get things started.
Thank you, Your Worship. Thank you, other council staff. And it's a very important honor to, first of all, welcome everyone here. I'm very thrilled to see the great show of it under group. And I'd like to also say that I'm personally the fire marshal's office today. So on behalf of them, they would also congratulate all of us on here. So I'd like to start with Fire Marshal's 35-year service for Prescott.
Thank you. So keeping with Captain Paul Arcand, it's 35 years of service. When I look around the room, there's probably quite a few people here that are under the age of 35, right, Tracy? So, 35 years, 52 weeks a year, 7 days a week on call. I mean, I'd hate to know how many calls you've had in those years, along with all of you gentlemen, but Paul, 35 years, you're in charge of apparatus training and maintenance committee. We thank you for your service. Second, I have Mike Crozier. He's a senior firefighter. 15 years he's been volunteering. He's a member of Air Supply, not the band, right?
No. That's his son.
Oh, that's his son. That's right. Love those guys. And calibration of equipment and maintenance. So congratulations. Thank you for 15. Now I also have Ryan Sobey next. Ryan is, if you're not aware, he works also for the town, one of our great employees, along with a couple others that are on that do dual role. He's been doing it for 15 years as well. He's a fire truck operator and member of the truck committee. So thank you, Ryan. And last but not least, we have Captain Chris Velkamp, who's been doing it for 10 years, also a member of the Air Supply band and a member of the training committee. Sorry. So maybe what we could do, we get council up and we'll take a picture. How do you want to take a picture? That way or this way? Okay. So come on up, everyone.
Already.
I'm gonna lay down in front. Swishing, maybe.
You want one of the younger generation?
No, I don't want any other generation.
Thank you, gentlemen. Either of you want to have a speech?
Oh, I used to make that. Very well.
Thanks, Paul, for your service.
Thank you.
Thank you all for your service.
Yeah, thank you, gentlemen. Can we just give a big round of applause for these? I love doing this every year, so we'll do it again next year. Probably 4 more. I know.
Yeah, thanks.
All right, thanks, guys. Thank you very much. You're welcome to stay. It's probably only 4 hours.
Bob, you sure? See you, folks. I tried to get Bob to stay.
Meeting. Okay, thanks, Chief.
My handwriting was.
Okay, we're down to.
They look good, eh?
I know, the uniforms look so.
So smart, huh? Okay, we're gonna move along. Item 5 is delegations. There are no delegations this evening. Item 6. Under item 6.1, we have approval of the council minutes. Motion reads that council minutes dated February 5th, 2024 be accepted as presented. Can I have a mover and a seconder? Councillor Kirkby, Councillor Campbell, any discussion on the minutes? No? Seeing none, I'm going to call the question. All in favor? Got it. Thank you. Okay. Item 7.1 is correspondence from Tony Fleming of Cunningham Swan, final report concerning an integrity commissioner report on code of conduct. The recommended motion reads that the correspondence and report of T. Fleming, integrity commissioner, be received and that the report be made available to the public on the town's website. Can I have a mover and seconder? Councillor Burton? Councillor Kirkby? Sorry, Councillor Rocket, I'll get you. Any discussion? Councillor McConnell?
Well, as you might expect, Mayor Shankar, given the fact that this is in regards to me, I do have a comment or two that I would like to make. We have, I believe, well, let me put it this way. I mean, I've been here for a while and some of you have been here first term. Leanne, you've been here for several terms. And the code of conduct that we deal with is one of those things that's in our binders, but you know, you read it at the start of the season and you move to the start of the season, the start of the term. I'm into baseball already. And you don't pay much attention to it because, well, you never figure it's going to really concern you. But when it does, and when it comes out of the blue, and then you take a little more, a little closer look at it. And having been in the experience of this, I find that there's several things lacking in this system that we have that I believe down the road a few months we should address, because I would hate for anybody else to be put in the same situation that I've been put in. And this has been hanging over my head now for 7 months. 90 days is what is supposed to happen as far as a report goes, or an interim report to council. And assuming we had an interim report to council, I would have got it as well as everybody else. I didn't, so I assume nobody else did as well. Second thing is the integrity commissioner has the right to issue a report and not name the person who made the complaint. And as a person, this council who has had essentially my name impugn the fact that the person who gets to do that gets to remain behind the door without facing any consequences, like even, well, I'm sorry, you don't have to offer an apology or anything. I don't think that's right. There's another thing that the integrity commissioner's report goes to is that if you look in what we have as far as pages go, it says that I am entitled to the complaint. So that makes sense. I mean, if somebody lodges a complaint against you, you should be able to read what the complaint says. Despite several requests, I was never provided with the complaint. Never. What I got was the integrity commissioner's interpretation of the complaint, which, depending on how you interpret something, can be completely different. So, based on that, I had to essentially make a guesstimate as to where this complaint came from. And I will say right now, if I guessed wrong, then I owe that person a sincere apology, and I offer it. But it shouldn't have happened. If a complaint is lodged, you should know where it's coming from. I also, since I'm not familiar, and I don't think any of us really are with this procedure, I assumed from the way I read it that council was notified when there is a complaint. And apparently that's not true. I was given 10 business days to respond, to give a written response to this complaint. And I sat down one afternoon from 1 o'clock till 5 o'clock and I gave an 11-page response to the complaint. And then we had a ribbon cutting the next day. And most of council were there, and a couple members of council made a couple of joking comments, which I took as a joke in the way that they were intended. But believing that everybody knew about this, I assumed that all of council was aware of this complaint. And so I decided, you know, if I've got 2 members of council joking about this already, I'm not going to bother with an 11-page complaint. So I did not seek legal representation, which I'm entitled to. And I did not issue any formal written complaint, which I was entitled to. So everything that's come since that time from the Integrity Commissioner's office is based on the actual evidence of the tapes that are done of our meeting. And based on those, he said, I'm not guilty. It did not rise to the level of what was alleged. And if anybody is interested, this is going to be posted on our website, I presume, if we vote to do so, and they can look into it further. But it's not a perfect system. And I think, now I don't know whether it comes down from the Municipal Act exactly the way we have it, or we have some leeway as to what we can do in it. But I think it needs a discussion down the road because it's far from perfect the way it's written, haven't gone through it. Thank you, Mayor Shankar.
You're welcome. Anyone else have a comment? Councilor Brandon?
I see what you're saying, Councilor McConnell, and it sounds like there is some flaws in it, but we are all accountable for our own actions, right? And unfortunately, this went to the Integrity Commissioner. And what I'm interested to say, like it says here, that you weren't gonna respond. You're not providing a response.
Mhm.
Right? I don't know, if somebody was gonna complain to me, I would wanna say sorry or something, I don't know. But I find we all need to be accountable for our actions around this table and anywhere that we go, so. That's all I got.
Do you want to respond?
I do, and as I said before, I wrote out an 11-page response. But once I thought that all of council was aware of it, well, I have my response to the integrity commissioner here, but it's luck would have it, I left my glasses in my coat, so I can't read it. But my response was in the neighborhood of if we already have two people around the table who are looking at this as more of a joke than anything else, I think at the end of the day, when it's investigated, it's going to do more damage to the person that launched the complaint than it is to me. And given the fact that I have been found innocent of these charges, I would have to say that that's likely the case if that person was identified, which they are not, and that may very well be the reason they have not been identified. Thank you.
Councillor Kirkby?
Yeah, through you, Mayor Shankar. First of all, I thought the person would be identified, to be honest. And I do hear what Lee's saying, like I guess maybe, but the process, I guess, is on us to investigate or to make recommendations. I would assume the same, by the way, that you would know the person or potentially the format of letters going out. This is the first time it appeared on the agenda. It doesn't really provide a timeline or anything, right? So I would agree that, you know, maybe there's some work that could be put towards it to improve it.
Maybe down the road, we can have Tony come in and we can go over the process as well down the road. But I mean, you know, this is probably a good lesson that we've all learned, that, you know, when we have something in our binder that we sign as a code of conduct, that we actually read it and we understand it. And if we have questions, we follow it up. You know, just to say that you hadn't read it doesn't forgive us of what's in there. But again, and I think maybe what we should do, Matthew, is each year re-sign the code of conduct, so that we are all aware of it. And the same goes for our committee members that are not part of council. All right, any further discussion on this? Councillor Campbell?
I had a comment that I was surprised through the investigation that it was just based on the proceedings from council and that he would not have interviewed anybody about the situation. It's just a comment.
Each integrity commissioner runs a different investigation, right?
Thanks
For us to
if
decide.
I'm making in the response that I got, which is available, what the integrity commissioner said was, well, he didn't actually say it was never a he said, she said type of thing. It was all on video. It was all in our in-camera meetings, 2 meetings. So there was no he said, she said. There was no need to interview people. You could read you could watch the video and see exactly what happened. The thing that I found really peculiar here, I gotta be honest with you, is not having access to the actual complaint. I had to go by what came from the integrity commissioner's office, and it's the integrity commissioner's office, not the integrity commissioner. I was under the impression that Tony was the man, he did it. The first letter I got was from a clerk in his office, a law clerk. Second one was from a different lawyer who actually handled the complaint. And it's of the videos, I had a list of videos that I looked at, and the one was, I don't know, 3, 4 minutes long. I'm only talking for half of that time. You're talking for the other half and you're agreeing with me. That's part of the complaint. Another one was 1 second, 1 second. And I defy anybody to come up with whatever word they said in 1 second. And by playing that tape several times and looking at the clock, I finally come up with a word. You know what it was? It was one of our prime minister's favorite words, and I'm embarrassed to have used it in a sentence. It's the word UGH. I don't even know if it is a word. That's what was on the 1 minute. And the third one, and I don't know the exact time, but I'm just going to use this for an example, was from 12:45 of a particular meeting to 11:32 of a meeting. Time doesn't run backwards. What am I supposed to do with that? You know, that's what I got. Anyway, thank you for letting me
Yeah,
respond.
no problem. Any other questions? Councillor Lockett, you're good? All right, I'm gonna call the question. I'll just read the recommended motion again, that the correspondence and report of Tea Farming Integrity Commission be received and that the report be made available to the public on the town's website. All in favor? Okay, thank you. Okay, 8 is consent reports. The recommended, under 8.1 is consent reports. We have an information package. Is there anything that you'd like to see pulled out of the information package? Councillor Kirkby?
Yes, through you, Mayor Shankar, I have a few. I have City of Brantford, reliable and accessible, rail transit. I have Renfrew County, affordable water and wastewater.
Okay.
And then I have Prince Edward County review of Ontario Works and ODSP rates.
1, 2, 3. Anyone else? No? Okay. So the motion is that all items listed under the consent report section of the agenda, save and except for the 3 that Councillor Kirkby mentioned. And we'll discuss that another time. So can we accept 8.1 as presented? Mover and seconder, Kirkby and Councillor Lockett. There we go. Gotcha. All in favor? Good. Carried. Thank you. No committee reports this evening. Mayor's proclamation. I wanted just to give a shout out. We've had some really cold weather and lots of snow in the last 2 weeks. And our operation guys have done a great job. The sidewalks look good, the roads look good, and the snow is all gone. So hope Mother Nature helps with that, which is good, but credit goes out to the guys that are always there working hard. I also had a Joint Services Committee meeting last month. They came down with their budget at 6.4, was it, Matthew? In around?
I think for joint services,
So
it's a little over 8.
8, okay, sorry. So that's what we got to work with, but we'll talk about that later. I'm gonna go around the room if anyone has any committees or events that they went to that they'd like to discuss. We're gonna start with Councillor Young.
Thank you, Mayor Shankar. February the 9th, I attended the AGM at Walker House. It was really well attended, a really enthusiastic membership for sure. Program Director Susan Vallon delivered her report and made a point of thanking the town of Prescott. February 13th, there was a BIA meeting. We made a recommendation to be presented at our AGM on March 26th that we look at associate membership. So that's kind of something we've been talking about for a long time, but we're going to bring it forward then. We also dealt with some sponsorships for the Leo Boydman. We approved that, and Canine Water Sports. There'll be a couple of new board members being brought forward to council for approval. And we're celebrating our downtown female entrepreneurs. They've been invited to share their small business stories, and one submission will be selected to win a free ticket to the International Women's Day in Kempville. on March the 7th. And then that'll also be part of our social media campaign for International Women's Day. And finally, just a couple of economic development updates. We met with Vicki and Stephanie from South Grenville Minor Hockey to discuss the 50th Leo Boyven tournament. And I think we've got some really good collaboration ideas going. And the CSE job fair is tomorrow at the Leo. Thank you.
Great, thank you. Councilor McConnell?
Thank you, Mayor Shankar. I didn't have any, well, as you all know, I was in Florida for the first 2 weeks of the month, but I haven't had any committee meetings since. However, I did help the Shakespeare group move out of their office this past Wednesday into the pump house. We moved a bunch of stuff over there, and the Saturday before that, we moved a bunch of stuff into the upstairs at the Leo. So Shakespeare is very appreciative of the space that's been donated by the town. And they are aware that they need to filter some of this stuff out. I made that clear, I think. This past Sunday afternoon, yesterday afternoon, I had a call from one of the fellows that I've most enjoyed being on council with over the last 4 terms, Mike Ostrander. He asked me if I would be one of the judges at the Legion Public Speaking Contest for grades 1 through 8 this past Sunday. And I readily agreed. And given the way those things seem to be going the last few years, I was there at 1. I thought I could be home at 2, and I didn't get home till after 4. There were 24 plus children from grade 1 to grade 8 speaking, which was the auditorium there was full of parents, full of kids, full of babies that belong to parents that belong to kids. It was just a great time. And the only sad part of it all was that every speaker was from St. Lawrence Academy, not one from the other schools in Prescott. Despite the fact that Mike had gone around to the schools on more than one occasion looking for support, and he got none. But it's a credit to the St. Lawrence Academy town, and it's a testament to how they believe in promoting their children. I know whenever we've had an election here for the last 2 terms, we've all been invited down to speak. And I think all of you were here at the same time I was last term. And they're great kids. They come up with some wonderful questions. And it's interesting to see the excitement in their faces. And I learned a lot of stuff yesterday. I learned that one kid's cap was within 2 toes of setting a world record. I learned that you do not leave a Bernedoodle alone because they don't like it. I heard about Hopewell Rocks in New Brunswick, which was kind of interesting because my sister-in-law is a tour guide there in the summer. I learned about dirt biking, snorkeling. I now know that Canada's Wonderland has more roller coasters than any other park in the country, and the fastest one I understand as well. A tremendous variety of topics and well-spoken kids, polite kids. And the nice thing to see is it was a competition and there were winners declared. We actually had a tie with the senior category, grade 7 and 8, and we had to go behind the scenes and reassess and break the tie, but there really wasn't a winner there. They were both excellent. But it was really nice to see that the kids, when they were really excited for each other, they all get up and were clapping and giving each other slaps of hands when they come back. They were cheering for each other. And it was just a really good experience. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Councillor Lockett?
Thank you, Mayor Shankar. I have nothing to add to committee, but I just wanted to elaborate a little bit on Councillor McConnell's, because a few years ago, my oldest grandson participated in the public speaking in Brockville, and he actually won first prize, and he started off his spiel with, "I just had wonderful news today. I heard my grandfather is going to live forever." He told me that he is going to live until the Maple Leafs win a Stanley Cup. So Brendan assumed that his grandfather was going to live for a very long time. So I understand what Councillor McConnell is saying, but no, I have no committees to report on.
Thank you, Councillor Lockett. Councillor Kirkby?
Through Mayor Shankar. I have an outside report from operations, just some highlights since the last time we were here. So the cold patch where we had the water break down on Center Street the cold patch has been put in place. The bleacher heaters in the ACC are now working and everybody seems happy and toasty, and I get less feedback when I'm there. Obviously, everybody sees the water tower work continues, doing some masonry work on the inside. The pickleball sessions are up by 18 hours a week, which is good for the community. It means a lot of people are using the facility. It's good to see. I noted, and I was quick to message Matthew, that on Family Day, there was work going on the overpass, and I thought, oh, we're paying a premium there, but it turns out it's in the contract and it was their choice to work that day. It is at no extra cost to the town, so I was happy to hear that. New custodian hired for the town of Prescott. So we'll look forward to welcoming him. I did attend some Family Day activities after I ran into a bunch of the Canadian national ski cross team downtown that happened to be staying at the Zen's Inn. So I stopped by the museum because I wanted a new toque. I was thinking it was open. I would have a Prescott toque to go up to the Family Day activities. And I just happened to see all these people walk out of the Zen's Inn with the Team Canada coats on, national ski cross coats. So I decided that I would pull over and talk to them quickly. And that led to me calling Dana and having Dana come down. She was very quick to respond to open up the museum and show them some Prescott history. They talked highly of the Prescott and their stay at Zen's Inn, and we got some swag and stuff for them. And it was great, just great to make the connection. People from BC, Alberta, Saskatchewan, and one individual from Winchester and another one from Ottawa. There's 7 total. And then the last thing I'll touch on is yesterday I was at the ACC for the senior A game. And what I will say is I saw 3 parking spots that were available. There was vehicles parked on the road. The estimations were 500 people that paid to get through the door. So it was a well-attended event. 1 EV parking spot and 2 handicap parking spots. So, sometimes people will say, well, why do we have so many handicap parking spots? Well, they were all used yesterday except 2, and all the EV stations except 1. So, yeah, so just a great use of both facilities, the ACC for Family Day, hockey, that's what we want to see, and then the Leo Boyven Community Center still being used. That's all I have. Thank you.
Councillor Campbell?
Thank you, Mayor Shankar. I attended the fire admin meeting on February 6th. Since then, they've had a session of CPR and first aid with Robin Yandel instructing. It is truck maintenance month for them. They attended Family Day with a fire truck, and in March, they're going to help the food bank collect and drop off food. Thank you.
Good, thank you. Councillor Burton?
Thank you. I too attended the Family Day and very, very successful. Lots of smiling faces, and thanks to our junior ranger team who spent the morning lending a hand and helping out. The Marina seasonal slips are available. If you're interested, it's marina.prescott.ca. The public skate sponsorships are available for March break. That's a big help for our community when somebody sponsors the public skating sessions, and great way to get your name and your business in there. So pickleball, like Councillor Kirkby said, is thriving. Walker House, lots of activities going on in Walker House. And Prescott is a very active community right now. I mean, we got the pickleball, we have Walker House, we have Connect Youth after school program, the library program. We got a lot going on. And one of the things that you can do is follow us on the Town of Prescott Community Service and Recreational Facebook page. Great way to find out all the things that are going on in our beautiful town. Thank you.
Thank you. I just want to follow up that. I want to give a shout out. I haven't been in the rink probably in 3-4 weeks, and I went Sunday to watch the game. And one thing I noticed, Dana, the signs.
Yeah.
You got that. You got lots of signs, new signs, and optional ones, that quarter one that I saw. And even the signs on the outside of the rink where people can see. So kudos to you. Great job. And I mean, that rink is filling up nice. I also saw some of the plaques for our next topic, Citizen of the Year and stuff. Those need to be locked though. They're all open. Okay. I noticed that. All right. Well, that's good. Thank you very much. We're going to move on to staff reports. 12.1 is staff report 14-2024. Community awards. This report is from our deputy clerk, Caitlin Mallory. The recommendation reads that council directs staff to proceed with the business, citizen, and volunteer recognition program as outlined in staff report 14-2024 community awards. And that council appoint the following 3 council members to the business, citizen, volunteer of the year award selection panel for 2024. Before we do that, I'll just let Ms. Mallory speak to the report.
Thank you, Mayor Shaker, for you to council. This is a sort of my annual report for the community awards. In the past, we celebrated the community awards in many different ways. We do business, citizen, and volunteer of the year categories. Our most recent community awards happened here at a special meeting of council where we honored them at the meeting, and then we had a reception after in the Ruth Evanson room. So we plan to open the nomination period on March 4th and run it until April 19th, about 7 weeks or so. We also do keep a log of previously nominated persons and businesses. So depending on the number of nominations we receive, we can always go back and look at those. So we do 2 sets of plaques for the community awards, as you may know. Last year's are currently displayed at the arena, so hopefully you had a chance to see those at the ACCC. Once the nomination period has closed on April 19th, the working group would meet and they would determine their selections, and that would be brought to a closed session at the May 6th council meeting.
Very good. Thank you. Do we have any questions for Ms. Mallory? Because I forgot to get a mover and seconder. But I need a mover, Councillor Burton and Councillor Campbell. Now we can ask a question. Yep. Thank you. No questions? Oh, sorry.
Oh, no, that's okay. Just a comment. I mean, it's such a great way to honor our citizens and our businesses in the town. I mean, what a great way to, if you see somebody that's doing a fabulous job and has been dedicated to a group or an organization or a business that's been around for, well, it doesn't matter. They're thriving. So it's just a great way and a great way to honor. And I would encourage anybody and everybody to put an application in and sponsor somebody, sponsor a business or sponsor a person.
Thank you. Well said. All right, we'll let before I call the question, do we have our 3?
Mayor Shankar, if there's any volunteers.
Oh, we're looking for volunteers.
You can the working group.
That's why I couldn't find the name. All right, so would you like to volunteer? Councillor Kirkby, Councillor Burton, Councillor Young, and Councillor Lockett. Uh-oh. How many do we need? Can we have 4? We need 3.
Just 3.
I can,
Three makes it easier.
I can withdraw.
Okay, there we go. Counselor Lockett, you're in. Counselor Young, you're in. Counselor Burton, you're in. All right, everyone good with that? Okay, so do I need to read the recommendation again? We got it? Okay. I'm gonna call the question. All in favor? Carrie, congratulations, you three. Good job. Okay, 12.2 is the 2024 projects prioritization. Matthew, our CEO treasurer, will speak to this PowerPoint. Matthew, you got it?
Thank you very much. Step onto the slideshow. All right. So tonight we're going to go through the prioritization that we have thus far. And so just to give an indication, we are February 26th. So this evening we're doing project prioritization. Then our next subject will be the revenue and taxation, the operating budget. So just kind of breaking down the major sections of this report. So projects previously approved and in progress, 2024 health and safety projects or the ones that have already been approved, 2024 projects covered by the operational budget, 2024 project priorities based on the feedback received from members of council as well as staff, and kind of bringing those together and developing a list. Development initiatives, possible tri-council initiatives, possible local organization and third-party led initiatives and projects moving forward to the 2025 potential list. So just going through, again, we talked about the water tower, phase 2 of the outdoor rec complex, the fire pumper, all of those. We talked about them and they were previously approved in previous years. So a total of 8.6 million is what we have starting the year with in terms of projects, and the vast majority of those being expected to be complete this year. Then we have our health and safety projects. So there's the yearly fire department replacement gear, play structure deficiencies, EDOC, which was previously approved and awarded. The water treatment plant filter upgrade, which we're in the process improvement and working on the design for that and the engineering. And then community improvement plan, just at the last meeting, a reallocation from the fiscal policy reserve to the CIP. So that totals 940,000. So taking a look at the projects that we feel that we can do in the operating budget itself. So minor refresh of the gazebo, replacing the seating, which is fairly worn, and painting. It would just be materials only, and we'll do the labor in-house. Then the additional transient boating slips. This year we are keeping a couple of larger open to allow for transients. We're satisfying all of the larger or smaller crafts that come in, but we do have a couple of larger crafts that are looking to come in. So certainly trying to reconfigure that. It will cost nothing, and we'll see how it goes this year. Organized team building exercises. We have a plan to do a number of those with staff and throughout the year, and that's coming along fairly well. Interim approach participation contest. So the February deadline, I believe, was for if we wanted a grant towards that, but we can still add any activities that might be at no cost. 911 program numbers. So instead of buying all of the small blue and white numbers, we can pass a bylaw or enact a bylaw and require that all dwellings and businesses have a front-facing street number. So that can be done over a number of years in terms of making sure, and it certainly helps our emergency services to be able to make sure they know where they're going. It can be complicated on King Street in particular when you have a number of doors, and so it certainly helps. The pool building refresh, again, we would do that in-house and with materials only, and fixing the slippery tile issue, repainting the interior, and a minor refresh throughout the building. Marina bathroom, the new baseboard and trim, again, materials only, we believe we can do it in-house. King Street bicycle parking, we can move a spare rack to the clock tower parking lot to provide bicycle parking and help with the active transportation. Painting the lines on Churchill Road East from Sophia to Edward. And we can include that in the 2024 line painting list. And demoing the cement building, we believe we can do in-house, and we'll store the rubble instead of getting rid of it for now. To improve the blocked entrance at the Clock Tower parking lot, we think we have a couple of options for dressing that up a bit, and kind of doing a couple of things with it that should be innovative. Downtown murals, actually working with the BIA to get that project done. Finding new homes with parkettes. We're already working on new locations on King Street for 2024. And then based on the feedback we received in 2023. And then adding signs where users can send e-donations, things like that. We'll bring that back to council with a design and some options and see what you think. So in terms of the ones that appeared to rise in priority, the marina electrical panel upgrade to support the pop-up site and events. We believe we can afford that through the infrastructure reserve. There was 5 members that said that they thought it was of importance, and certainly something that we believe if we want to continue growing and providing events in that area and broadening the types of events that we can do, then that's one of the critical items that we'll require. Marketing and branding, that was a strategic plan initiative, and again, we'd be able to fund that through fiscal policy reserve. Beautifying of the King Street along the Coast Guard, kind of working with them to be able to achieve that, and we believe we can through the infrastructure reserve. Screening on the northwest side of Edward Street Bridge to hide the junkyard. You'll notice that has recently been cleaned up significantly. It has changed hands, and so we will be having a discussion with them around keeping it clean, what their plans are, things like that. But we'll also look at trees, being able to grow that on the slope. Pop-up site development, grading trees, landscaping, Wi-Fi, lighting, security, all of those types of things. Again, we believe we can do that through the infrastructure reserve. And one thing to note is that where they're currently located and where we're holding events and things like that is certainly something that we would want to maintain for a public access perspective. And so it certainly would be an investment that would go for naught as we move forward. Bus shelters, we would apply under the federal rural transit funding and actually survey our users to find out where bus shelters would be most helpful. We know that the stop at the corner of Edward and Churchill, that is well used, and there's not a lot of space to be able to get out of the elements in that area. The Leo Boyden Community Washroom also was on a number of people's item. It's basically taking the first aid room and trying to create a family washroom out of it. We already have some plumbing. It will be a matter of the waste pipe and trying to get that in place. Marina sewage pumps, it's replacing the second. There's 2 pumps that alternate to pump up the marina sewage into the sanitary sewer. And we have 1 pump that will be going in this year that was purchased last year. And then this is replacing the second pump, and they alternate on a regular basis. Make sure solids go uphill and not downhill. Clock tower replacing these are a number of ones that weren't highlighted by council, but we felt that there was some things that we might need to address, especially from the clock tower perspective and the amphitheater. So replacing the floor planks and stringers, it is becoming a safety issue. They're well worn. And here again, we would look to do that with in-house staff, just purchasing the materials. And then clock tower framing and soffit to avoid water damage. We would suggest that is coming to time.
You have a question on that one?
No, but in helping Shakespeare move their stuff over the last week or so, the subject, people talking. And I mentioned, or somebody mentioned some planks, and I said, well, that's on the radar of council that we're going to be discussing this coming Monday. I said, is there anything that you feel that the amphitheater can use while they're doing that, that could be best done at the same time? If there is, could you email me? So I did get an email, and I will forward it on. I should have done it today, and it's with my mind, but there's a considerable wish list there, which most of which is not going to get done. But there is some things that can be done as far as wiring and stuff goes. If the planks are gonna be removed, it can be done underneath that will save a bunch of stuff hanging around in the meantime. So those are some things that could be considered to be done at the same time, and I will forward those along. Thank you.
Brockville and the District Hospital Foundation, you're 7/10 of the donation that we agreed to. And then I did notice that I believe the list of ACC items that we talked about previously wasn't sent out as part of the original list. And so doing the additional hooks in the dressing rooms as feedback from users, as well as shelving or cubbies above the benches in the change rooms as well. And both of those, we believe that we can do in-house materials only. I believe also the high school, and it would be willing to work on some of the shelving and cubbies, and we'd be happy to partner with them as well. So in terms of, so just can pause right there. That's kind of the end of the project list, so to speak, for 2024, and happy to have any questions.
Councillor Campbell, did you have your hand up too? Burton and then Councillor Connell.
Okay.
Oh, and Kirk.
Through you, Mayor Shankar. So the fact that we voted on these and some, 5 council members voted on them, but there's some that don't have any votes. Are we just looking at the ones that the majority voted on?
No, so to be clear, no one voted on anything. You just indicated.
I mean, not voted, I mean, yeah.
So no, staff put forward the ones at the bottom that we also felt were important. You can remove, add, change as you see fit.
Okay.
Councillor McConnell?
Thank you. I'll let Councillor Kirby go ahead. I've lost my. I was listening to.
Actually, it was Councillor Burton and Councillor Kirkby. Yeah.
Thank you, Mayor Shankar. Matthew, with the gazebo, where it's currently at the beach, would it be proactive to move the gazebo to a better location? So, because it's in the sand, right? Would it be a little bit, just being proactive and moving that gazebo? If we're gonna do some work on it, maybe we could move it up to the grass area to provide a little bit more shade. Because people tend to kind of congregate on the grass area, and that might help with some erosion of the wood down the road. Just a thought.
Certainly look at it if council wishes.
Yeah, we can. I don't know how old it is if we'll be able to move it.
That was my.
Let it fall
Yeah.
apart. So I think we'll have them look at that first and.
Yep, worth a look, for sure.
Councillor Kirkby?
Through you, Mayor Shankar. Just to touch on that part, I do agree that, I would actually like to see it more strung across. Do you know what I mean? To provide access. So families could almost sit at the top where Councillor McConnell at one time suggested parking, which wasn't a bad idea. But somewhere just above the sand line and longer so more people could use it. But I looked at this as just a minor refresh, as getting us through what we have now to maybe a wish list or something. But I just wanted to make sure that I touched on that. I do like the idea of maybe moving it. A couple here, we put 10,000, like, I know these are pretty much rough estimates. Are these numbers that we will hold to, Matthew? Is a couple of them I worry that could run high is the Leo Boyden Community Center washroom. The amphitheater to replace floor planks and stringers, which is for safety. That number provided there, that is just based on material.
Yeah, so there's the stringers, the planks, there's some of the boards around that have also been rotting, things like that. It probably were a little bit heavy on that particular estimate. That's if we had to get somebody in to come and actually do the work. We do believe we can do it in-house though. But we've added a number of in-house items.
Yes.
And so just want to make sure that, and that one has a kind of very specific date we have to meet before Shakespeare Festival. So we want to make sure that we include a draft that we weren't going to miss it.
I would share Councillor McConnell's feedback that if we're going to open up the floor and there's a chance to maybe take a look at the wiring or improve any kind of electrical, would be the time to do it. And then the other one was the screening on the north side. And so we continue to call it screening. I would really like to see that be some kind of trees or something. Do you know what I mean? Just so we're clear on that. I would prefer to see some kind of trees and natural, maybe blooming field or something on the side of the hill there to kind of help hide that. And then I just wanted one last thing, and I heard you say that in front of where the current pop-up location is, would always, so any work there will always be there, which
That would be the intent.
theory, yes. So the marina electrical, now does that do other upgrades for the marina, or is it just for the pop-up location?
It would be a bit of both, depending on which way we go. So there's an option where we can have a completely separate panel and just do the pop-up area and event space, or we can run it off the marina one. So there's pros and cons to each, and we haven't quite figured out which way we'd want to go, but we did have the electrical looked at, and we're okay on that end, except for like in terms of the marina use. But we definitely maxed out on the pop-up and event space.
Okay.
So for instance, Poutine Feast this year in 2023, they had to all run on generators,
Right.
simply because there's not the electrical there. So if you can start to provide that type of thing in terms of electrical, then we could look at concerts, outdoor concerts, things like that, just because we don't have that capacity right now.
And so would we run power to, would it be, so currently like last year, we ran a lot of cordage. There's lots of cords. Would it be cleaner and more underground with hookup locations?
Yeah, absolutely. So we definitely want to do that at the same time when we're doing the grading and that sort of thing changes. We can sink a conduit into the ground and just really clean it up.
Maybe have something that replicates what's on the docks or something as plugged, just so we don't have a bunch of cables through. Okay. And then as much as possible down there, if we can incorporate the solar, would be a great addition, right? Any of the lighting and stuff. And I think that's the
Yeah,
plan, is it not?
Absolutely.
Lighting?
The lighting, I think the pathway lighting that we installed a couple of years ago is doing great, and you know it's a cost efficient and economical thing that we're able to do. And so yeah, if we can incorporate that, that would be our first choice.
So I'll just touch on that. I'm sorry, because I thought of the solar thing and I'm like, oh, it's too late. But is that something we looked at maybe for the marina dock lighting? Or is it, do you know what I mean? So we have the lights on the dockways all the way down.
Mhm.
Is that solar or is that currently wired?
It is wired, and then we added solar add-ons for night lighting. So that way it just does on the downcast on the docks.
Right.
So,
Okay, perfect. Thank you. Safety reasons. Probably, yeah, exactly.
All right,
I did think of it.
okay, go ahead.
And it was because Justin was talking about docking, so it jogged my memory there. But many years ago, the plan, it wasn't a plan, it was a wish list, I guess, something like we're discussing tonight, was a pathway on the break wall all the way out to the lighthouse that's out there. The cost of that was, wow, let's just put it that way. And so it was suggested at the time, and I think Matthew brought this same thing up again sometime in the recent past. And that is to add docking on the inside of the break wall for transient use, which we could walk on out to, there would be a floating dock. And my question is this, and it's not something you're going to be able to answer today, but maybe you can give some thought to because you got some time. The long dock that we're replacing them. I'm not sure if they're in the order of which one is the worst this year. I know they all have to be replaced, but is there any section of that that could be saved and used for 2 or 3 years until we got all of the docks replaced and then replace it. If that's the case, then maybe that, when Kehoe is here, could be anchored along that, there would be no electrical hookup provided, but it is a docking space.
So definitely in terms of that plan, running it along the inside of the brick wall is kind of what I see as our next step after we're done kind of replacing. So in 2025, I think de-dock it, and oddly enough, they're all at their end of life. And the ones that, as we're kind of working in the reverse order, is pretty much the ones that we have to address first. So D-Doc is in 25, C-Doc, I believe, in 26, A and B in 2027. And I'd love to be able to attack that transient on the inside in 2028. We did have a discussion with Kehoe, is there a possibility of reusing those and things like that? They're all welded together, like the fingers and how they run the length. And so, and we have put so much foam in sections of them that, it's more foam than dock at this point, and steel. So we would love to be able to use them, but they're just well past their useful life.
Okay, asked and answered, thank you. If I can go back to Councillor Kirkby's comment on the parking that I suggested for the Todd, that wasn't me, that was Brett Todd. What I suggested was a turnaround.
Right, sorry, that's what I meant.
That's not parking, that keep people from parking.
Yep.
There where they should. And just one quick thing while we were talking about replacing the boards in the amphitheater. One thing I do recall from the list that I got from the Shakespeare people was a non-slip paint for the top of that surface. Now, the odd thing of that is for the last 2 years, they have put another layer of plywood over top of that because it wasn't slippery enough. So I don't know how you reconcile that. But yeah, I don't know.
So there's there's a couple of options we could do, and certainly we'll reach out to Shakespeare in terms of exactly just going to kind of work for them since they're the majority user. We could go with a Trex product, which obviously would eliminate having to replace the boards or the planks on a regular basis. We want to definitely price that out because it's a fair amount more expensive than wood, while at the same time, it may or may not satisfy their needs. So yeah, I think all those options are on the table and we'll definitely have a discussion about it. We're going to have to do it earlier in the season, so we'll get moving on their list of to-dos and wants and see what we can do.
If I may, part of the problem is, as you know, I painted that amphitheater 1 year when I was on the board of Shakespeare for them, and what I did was pressure wash it, scrape it, and then paint it. And it's at the time of year you have to do it. It's a very difficult thing to do. And if we're putting new boards down, you just can't paint new boards, or it's a waste of money. The paint is not going to stick to it because they have a certain amount of dampness.
Mm-hmm.
And given the fact that doesn't get sunlight till the afternoon, and you have dampness from the water, it's a very tough thing between the paint to stick to. So the not artificial, what do you call it?
Plastics?
Yeah, basically, that might in the long run be the best solution, but it's something you can talk about.
The nice thing about it as well is that how it goes down is just a little clip on the side, so it doesn't make any holes in the surface itself. But then it could possibly preclude Shakespeare putting plywood down and screwing it. So, there's some give and take that we'll have to consider.
You can do that clip thing with wood as well.
Matthew, I'm just gonna, before we move on, just gonna have a 5-minute comfort break because one of our staff is, maybe people noticed, but and it's not for her. I have to go to the bathroom, but I'm just gonna call a 5-minute break. I'm trying to blame you, but it's not you.
Okay.
It's easy.
I can hear you now. Yeah, I can't hear you.
All right, so we're back. So Matthew, continue then. I think we still have some more stuff there.
We do. I'm just going to. Moving to possible development initiatives, obviously land sales, waterfront fund development, lawn bowling club, the land there. Tom Carr, Ed Brown Fields, encouraging development with Augusta, West of Sophia, supporting RSL to expand beyond their current borders and vacant lot on 75K. So again, these are all ideas that have come up through conversation and certainly ones that we'll pursue under council's direction. Possible tri-county initiatives, so bus trips as well as a recreation master plan. This has been discussed a little bit, doing a tri-council rec master plan so we can take a broader look at activities, recreation across the three municipalities as opposed to just one. Possible local organizations or third-party initiatives, spot for cyclists, and also overnight unique accommodations, resurrecting the bike sub-governmental committee, bring carnivals to town, and then encourage local groups to do green initiatives such as bat houses, bird houses, things like that. Finally, we get to the projects that didn't make the list at this point, and I'm not going to go through each one, but some have amounts, some don't, and more than happy to answer any questions there might be as we go along.
Sorry.
Sorry, go ahead.
Shaker. The rec master plan, would that $50,000 be split up?
That would be just our portion.
Okay, okay. Thank you.
So a couple of questions for council. Do you agree with how the projects are currently grouped in terms of covered by the operational budget as well as 2024 project priorities? And then there's two projects that we really haven't talked about. So we'll deal with the first question first and then move on to the second question.
Councillor Campbell?
To you, Mayor Shankar. So are a lot of these are some of these projects based on grants that they have to be done within a certain time period?
Other than the water tower, I don't believe we have any other grants.
Okay, okay. So just, it'll come up later through me. If we're looking at a insurmountable tax hike, is it a possibility to move some of these to 2025, not do them all?
So all of these projects are funded from reserve as opposed to the operational budget. So there will be no impact of delaying a project. It would just be the funds would remain in reserve unless you're going to start funding the operating from reserve.
You?
Good. Councillor Burton?
Thank you. I do like the format and the grouping of this. It's well thought out and it's well organized, and in my opinion, I think that it's easy to read for everybody, and anybody who wants to go on our website and pop this up will be able to read it at ease as well. And I think that's important, that anybody that is looking at all of our agendas on a regular basis could read it.
Thank you. I think it's important to note, and Councillor Campbell, thanks for bringing that up, that none of this is affecting our tax rate. It's all been budgeted for through reserves and money we've put aside. Any other questions before you move forward?
I have a question on the last slide that was up there. Well, maybe it's not the last slide. Well, the first line, it had to do with seasonal lighting at Riverwalk Park.
Mhm.
I don't get that because it's already lit at Riverwalk Park. I don't understand the description.
So I think the idea was adding kind of ornamental lighting. That's what we did with King Street, where we go between the snowflakes and the water tower, or not water tower, the lighthouse. And adding something that, when you're walking through, it provides, a great spot to take a picture, or a great spot to go and visit as well.
Got it. Thank you.
Okay, so the second question is, how does council wish to address the redevelopment donation request? So Sherwood Park Manor was a total of 75,000. That was based on $3.68 per resident times 5 years. And so just taking 4,000 times 5 times 368. And then Maple View Landings was $1 per resident over 3 years. So again, 4,000 times 3 times $1 to come to the 12,000. So currently they're not in the budget, they're not accounted for. We could find possibly a reserve amount to cover them, or if it wanted to be added to the budget, then it would increase the amount that we're looking at already.
You want to start? Okay, go ahead.
Through you, Ms. Shankar, could you please review again what we're obligated for these long-term residences versus what people are asking for donations for?
So in terms of these two particular facilities, we're not obligated to anything. We do support St. Lawrence Lodge. We hold a debt amount for them that we pay a net of $160,000 a year, and the operating request for this year is in excess of $350,000.
Okay, and do you know if other municipalities are supporting these donation requests?
I received that information today. So in terms of the Maple View, Reno Lakes, Athens, Front of Young, Miracle Wolford and Augusta have all signed on to it. Gananoque said no, and all the other remaining municipalities in Leeds and Grenville are considering it as part of their 2024 budget, so it's not provided a yes or a no.
Okay.
In terms of Sherwood Park Manor, United Counties is providing 375,000, Elizabethtown Kitley 100,000, Augusta 32,500, City of Brockville 500,000, and Edwardsburg Cardinal 35,000. And then none of the others that have been asked have given a refusal outright. Most are considering as part of their 2024 budget.
Thank you.
Through you, Mayor Shankar. Matthew, could you repeat what Augusta was supplying to Sherwood Park Manor and Cardinal Edwardsburg, please?
Certainly 32,500 and 30 for Augusta and 35,000 from Edwardsburg Cardinal. The response when we asked about that was that there's another portion that's coming from the United Counties. So they're adding those two up, and that was part of their ask for the town of Prescott, because we're not covered by the counties.
Did you have your hand up, Councilor Young?
I was just, thank you, Mayor Shankar. So just to be clear, this is the ask. We don't have to give the 75. We could come up with our own donation amount. Okay.
Just hold on. Councilor Lockett, I don't know if, just in case.
No, I'm taking it all in. It's good.
Okay. So before you go, I'm gonna throw my 2 cents in. We have a big hit from St. Lawrence Lodge, right? Big hit. And we're committed to that for the next at least 3 years.
For St. Lawrence Lodge, we're committed forever.
I keep wanting a time limit. Okay. Now, when, part of me at first is like, we're already putting hundreds of thousands into St. Lawrence Lodge. Maple View Landings is an up and coming, brand new facility that they're fixing up. I don't think their ask is a lot. They're asking $1 per resident for 3 years. I think, what we have to think about is these are our seniors, right? I can't tell you how many of seniors from Prescott are in there, but let's say we had a senior from Prescott that paid taxes their whole life in Prescott. And then they move into their siblings or their daughter or son in Brockville. Now all of a sudden they're considered Brockville residents, where they've been Prescott residents all along. Because I know I've wanted to say, please tell me how many Prescott residents are in your location. So since they can't give us that, I'm just going to assume that a Prescott resident has just as much chance of landing a spot there as they would anywhere else. So I don't think their ask is very much. Sherwood Park Manor, that's brick and mortar. They need that to do their development. Again, that number we don't have to match, but I think we should come up with something for them, because again, there are seniors. They've got us to where we are. I think it would be hard pressed for us not to support them. That's just my 2 cents. Justin?
Through you, Mayor Shankar. So the one thing I'll say on Maple View Landings, and I can't remember who was here that was talking about senior living in retirement homes at one point, but they did reference that Maple View Landings would probably be full with residents from the communities that have already made a donation. The ones that, in that Kempville area and all that, Kempville, Westport, even Smith Falls and Perth, I think was referenced to come there to that setting. To me, the Maple View Landing, it's an ask. It's not much of an ask, but it's $12,000. Where for me, Sherwood Park Manor seems more close to home. And it's 100% nonprofit funded, right?
Mm-hmm.
I think for me, the Maple View Landings has big donors out there. I feel like you probably won't see many Prescott residents, if any, in Mapleview Landings compared to Sherwood Park Manor. And that's just my personal feeling on that. I have looked at some data and asked some questions, and there hasn't been anything that stood out to say Mapleview Landings is something good for Prescott. Thank you.
Councilor McConnell?
Thank you, Mayor Schneider. We are committed under the municipal act to provide a home for the aging or contribute to one, which is why we have an unending bill at St. Lawrence Lodge, and it's not going to end. At the point when that gets paid off, we will be asked to commit to a fund to fund its replacement. And that's just going to go on. What's going to change over the years is the amount that we have to spend based on the number of people that we actually have in there. And I understand your point of view, and the city of Brockville made that point of view quite clear at several board meetings that I was at over the years that, yeah, the people are coming from Brockville, but they've only been in Brockville a couple of years. They've moved from the country, from Athens, from Prescott, but now they're considered city of Brockville, but there really are people. And it's hard to argue with that. And obviously you agree with that point. What I think is going to happen, I went through this with my mom. Mom was in the hot lodge for 3 years. She passed away there. When it comes to the point in time where you need to go to a lodge, you can turn down a bed, but you can only turn it down a couple of times, I think, and then you go to the bottom of the list. So in my mother's case, if the bed had been in Athens or the bed had been in Gananoque, she would have turned it down. As it turned out, St. Lawrence Lodge was her first choice, and that's the one that came up. So that worked out very well. But I think what you're going to find is with the increased number of beds in Athens, that it's going to empty out, or not maybe empty out, but the people that are going to choose St. Lawrence Lodge as their first choice is going to go down, because as Justin pointed out, those people from the north end, Westport, Athens and that area, they're going to choose out there to go, which means it's going to empty or make more beds available in St. Lawrence Lodge. So we actually should probably be prepared for an increase in what we're going to wind up paying to St. Lawrence Lodge, because I suspect we're going to have more of our people in there than we otherwise would. So there's that. So as far as supporting the one in Athens goes, it's only $12,000, but given my experience with the people who are in not Sherwood Park Manor, and it is a bigger ask, I would be far more inclined to support that, because I know we have people in there. Hall and Nora were in there, for example, or at least Hall was in there. My former father-in-law and his uncle. And it's part of our community. We have a tsunami of aging people. I'm one of them that are all going to have to wind up in hopefully I won't, but in a lot of cases it beats the alternative. They have to go somewhere and we have to be prepared. And so I would be more inclined to support these $5,000 ones if we do it over 5 years, or if we pick a little smaller figure and do it over 7 years. I don't really care, but I think we should support it. Thank you.
Thank you. I have Councillor Lockett.
Thank you, Mayor Shankar. I've listened to all everyone's comments, and I have to agree that I think we need to support Mapleview Landings as well. It's going to be state of the art, and it's going to be where people are going to want to be, in my opinion. Right now, Carlton Place has opened a brand new facility, and I know there's people from our area that were very happy to be in there and very happy to have the opportunity to be in there. I think the bottom line comes down to what's the best for the person that needs to go in to a lodge or a home. It can't always be what the kids are thinking. I want them close because I don't want to have to drive. If they're going to get the best care in St. Lawrence Lodge, great. If they're going to get the best care at Mapleview, great. So I definitely think we need to keep the door open so that our residents have the opportunity to go to Mapleview Lodge if they want to.
Thank you, Councillor Lockett. Anyone else we got on? Sorry, no, you good?
No, I do.
Oh, go ahead.
Yep, okay,
Sorry.
okay.
Yeah,
I totally agree with Councillor Lockett as well. I mean, if there's an emergency and there's no bed at Sherwood Park, there's no bed at St. Lawrence Lodge, and there is a bed at Mapleview Landing, that's where your loved one is going to be going. You may have choices and you may not have a choice. I think we should support both, in my opinion. The ask for Sherwood Park Manor is quite high, and in my opinion, I would like to come up with a better figure that represents Prescott and our residents. But what that figure is, I'm not too sure, and maybe Matthew could work some magic and see if we can come up with an honest figure that everybody's comfortable with.
just one second.
It did. I'm still here. And actually, we just lost power, so I'm just sitting in the dark.
I was looking, I'm like, what's going on? Okay. They're still
Wi-Fi
there.
is good. We just don't have any power.
Okay, Councillor Kirkby?
Through you, Mayor Shankar. So it feels like to me, this is something, Matthew, that would be voted on by council, right? I think the first question here for me is which ones we decide to fund. And the second part of that is what the number is. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Okay, so where's that? Should we separate them out? Would that be easier?
So through you, Mayor Shankar, I'll ask Matthew, did you want a motion from this, or is this going to come up later in the budget?
So there's a couple of options. We can either decide on it tonight, or if you want me to come up with different scenarios, we could do that. And then we could separate it out, determine how we would pay for it. There's a couple of options that we have there, and then you can make a decision based on that. So completely up to you whether you want to bite the bullet this evening and kind of review it, or do you want a little bit more information, a little bit more time, and have it as a separate motion and a separate report that we're not lumping as part of the project.
Would you be able to have that ready for next week?
Yes. Yeah, I believe I can do that.
Okay, so how about like a scenario in which we put up, maybe 3 scenarios, full ask, I guess, will be one scenario, almost like a half ask and half ask, 3 scenarios, and then a way we can offset the costs. Like we had some ideas that we looked at already, but maybe something like that would do it. Because like you said, this isn't part of our budget, but I do think it's important. I'd hate to see any of our seniors not get in because someone remembers that you guys didn't give us any money. You know what I mean? I hope that would never happen, but Councillor Kirkby and Councillor Campbell.
Just on that last statement, I don't think that's possible, is it?
I don't know.
No, I don't think it is. So my request then would be that they're separated for the ads, please.
Councillor Campbell?
And my request is, I'm trying to understand, but if you could explain next week about that Edwardsburg Cardinals giving 35,000. Yeah, I'd like to see that get reached.
Okay. Councillor McConnell, do you have a hand?
Thank you, Mayor Shankar. Matthew, through you. How many years do we have left on the donation to the hospital?
So this will be the 7th year in 2024, so we still have 3 more. So
Yes, 3, so
27.
Silver Park Manor is looking for 75 over 5 years, so really, if we did nothing other than extend 30,000 in years 4 and 5, be at the 60,000 of their $75,000 ask. That is one possibility,
It's a
which
scenario.
wouldn't affect our budget.
My only concern with that, Councillor McCall, and I did think of that as well, or discussed, is then we're making the next term of council having to pony up for what we decided. Do you know what I mean?
It's funny you should mention that, because that's exactly what we did 2 terms ago, and it was my suggestion that it was put on that that's why that comes back every year, so that each council has the decision of whether to do it, and it's not imposed from before. So I completely agree with that.
So, maybe we can put that as a scenario, but that's my only concern with that. is, we could have 7 new people next term, and they may say, oh, I don't want to pay that. Good. All right, moving on.
But just before we do, so I just want to get a feeling for the project, the priority list that we have now and how it was presented this evening. Is there any changes to that, or is council comfortable with it coming back one final time for review and approval?
I just had one question about the tri-council one. I thought I saw a social media director on there in our notes.
Sorry, so it is in the projects to move forward to 2025. It's just because it didn't get an overwhelming response.
Oh, there it is. I see. Okay. So as far, any feedback on the way this was done? Are we good with the project list? Right. Looks like you're good.
Okay, I appreciate it. Thank you.
Are we doing the fees and revenue now?
Just as soon as you announce it.
Oh. Oh, that's easy. I'll be okay. All right, 12.3 is a 2024 budget for revenue and property taxes. Matthew, floor is yours.
Okay, thank you very much. So this evening, we're going to go through fees, revenue, and property taxation. So we'll also take a look at the budget overview and updates, as well as maybe some next steps and just providing us a little bit of guidance. So again, February 26th, revenue and taxation. So we'll go through administration, critical services, transportation, environmental, health and social services, parks and recreation, and then planning and development. So when we take a look at administration, the vast majority of that budget is the OMPF, which is the Ontario Municipal Partnership Fund, which gives municipalities with lower economic disadvantages an amount to work with. So that's going up by 9,300. When we went across and took a look at where we ended up in 2023 versus where we believe we'll end up in 2024, then that was dictating what the 2024 budget is for the most part. So all told, an amount of 62,000 is budget to budget in the increase. Did want to just highlight the one-time funding received from the province, and that's in relation to payments in lieu. So federal and provincial properties aren't taxed through property taxation. It's what they call payments in lieu, which is basically the exact same thing. It's just a slightly different section of the act and calculation. So back a couple of years ago, I believe in 2022, the provincial government made a change to the education rates for payment in lieu properties versus commercial and industrial properties. And the federal government didn't feel that was fair, and therefore they're not paying the differential in the rate. So the province gave one-time funding for 2022, 2023, and 2021 last year. And that's simply why it's just a one-time and not continuing into 2024. We take a look at protective services, provincial offenses that's administered by the United Counties, that's going down. So if you remember in the 2023 budget, in their original budget, they had projected that they weren't going to return back to 2022 and on pre-pandemic levels. And so sure enough, they only are looking at producing $16,250 as part of our share. And then in 2024, decreasing further to $13,429. All the other ones are, fairly minor with the exception of fire. There was a one-time amount expected to be received in 2023. That's not happening likely until 2025 now, and it's just an association donation that's going through there. From the transportation, so we have the roads, the department, really that's our paving budget, and there's an increase in our OSIF, the Ontario Community Infrastructure Fund grant. And it's increasing by 20,000. There's some miscellaneous that goes through the traffic, mostly for road cuts, things like that. That looks like it won't be getting back to the 8,900. Parking lots, we did have a bit of a bumper year in parking lot revenue, as well at the same time we have the EV charging revenue that will be going into this year's budget. As I mentioned before, the river route, we're recording the full revenue and the full expense, and so really there's no bottom line difference. We're just recording the whole amount. Waste collection is an area where we continuing to see a decrease after the implementation of bag tags. And what we have found is that people are using larger bags, and we expected that to happen in place of the bags that we sold before. So we're now down about $15,600 from bag tags not generating the same revenue just due to the size of the bags being allowed. And then finally, recycling, that's an amount we receive from provincial government and will likely end when we transition to provincial carrier for recycling in 2025. That being said, it only covers 60% of the cost, so we'll be 50,000 to the good on that one. Next, we have health and social services. And again, similar to the river route, recording the whole amount of revenue and the whole amount of expenses for cemeteries. We're not actually, there's no bottom line impact. We're still only providing 14,000. We're just recording the whole amount in the books so that there's not as much as of a year-end variance when we get there. And St. Lawrence Lodge, so we pay 240,000 and we receive approximately 80,000 back from the province. It's for funding that long-term debt. When we take a look at Parks and Recreation, so a slight increase in the Walker House funding. Rec programs, we're happy to say that our rec programming, in particular pickleball, is generating a healthy amount of revenue. Marina is going down slightly, but we're still breaking even, and also including a reserve contribution of $79,435. The pool, that was an older estimate for the revenue. And since we went with the Y, we've been sharing the revenue 50-50. The long-term, Leo Boylan Community Center, slight increase in usage there from rentals. And the Land Structure Community Center, that's the whole year amount that we're expecting between the various areas that we have from signage, rentals, canteen, the contribution from Augusta. So that's there. Library, again, not a significant year-over-year increase in the total revenue, but the town grant is going up by 14,000. So they're using less of their reserves on projects this year and a greater amount in the town grant, and small amount received for the museum. So overall, up 309,000. And then ECDEV planning, the ECDEV, we would expect the Main Street, digital Main Street program to end March 31st along with the funding. We do have additional streams such as the pop-ups and sale of materials that is virtually offsetting that. So when we take a look at all of our revenues and fees that are not related to property taxes, then we're all up 534,000 overall. And then I just made some notes in terms of some of the major changes across some of those areas. So when we get to the property taxation, so we're going to review the assessment year over year, tax ratios, and then taxes by property class. So if you remember from last year's presentation, taxes are still based on a 2016 property assessment. So it was supposed to occur again in 2020 for the 2021 year. That was deferred due to COVID, and they haven't renewed it since. So with that, there is no natural growth that we have beyond new construction and renovations. So there's no increase due to property values increasing through inflation. So when we take a look at that, you can see that there's no kind of inflationary increase. It all is in relation to new properties or renovations occurring. So fairly small increase year over year and of 2.4 million. A good portion of that from residential to multi-residential was due to a reclassification of 2 properties and 2 buildings. And so those kind of net each other out. And then there's some more significant increases in the commercial occupied that we're seeing. When we take a look at our tax ratios, and that's the differentiation between residential and what those other property classes are charged. So residential always starts at 1.0. And then if you take a look at commercial, whatever the tax rate is for residential, then the tax rate for commercial is 1.89 times that. So they have minimum maximums that the province allows for, and to be revenue neutral, because we had no growth in the overall, so no assessment growth due to inflation, then they're continuing to contribute the exact same proportions ratios wise. So we would recommend no changes in the tax ratios themselves. So when we took a look and tried to figure out, what would it take to balance the budget as we have today, we need an additional 343,000 of municipal property tax assessment, which equates to a 5.34% increase. Because the education tax rate isn't changing and is remaining exactly the same, then a property owner would see an average of 4.57% increase year over year between 2023 and 2024. You can see how that breaks down through various classes. When we take a look at what that would mean for average households, and wanting to make one point, median is half the values of properties are above that number, half of them are below. So for a single family home, the median value is 158,000. There is no, as I mentioned, inflationary change. So a taxpayer with a assessment of 158,000 would pay $124 more per year. For a condominium unit, then it would be 119, 4.84%. Apartment building would go up 5%. Small office building about 4%. Small retail commercial 4%, and a standard industrial property approximately 4.35%. So just wanted to kind of stop at that point and kind of have we'll take 1 or 2 more slides. So from a overall budget perspective, where we are to date, so we have our fees and revenue, which was 4.5 million that we went through at the beginning of the presentation. The property base property taxation from last year was 1 million. Payments in lieu, as I mentioned, and supplementary taxes about 423. The 1% dedicated to infrastructure that we've been doing for the last several years is approximately 61,000. And so 4.34% is in relation to inflationary pressures. So we'll get to that in a moment as well. So from the expenses from our last meeting, we were at 11.394 million. We added the 1% for infrastructure, And then there was a number of changes. The health unit came back slightly higher than their original notice that they had made an error in the calculation. Joint services, there was some adjustments there, and then there were some minor adjustments just as we went through the overall process. So we're at this moment with a 5.24% increase in property taxes, which equates to 4.57% to the taxpayer when you include education taxes. Then our operating budget is 11.469 million. So when we take a look at that 343,000, just want to point out a couple of increases that were certainly pressures in this year. St. Lawrence Lodge increases $175,000 alone. Joint services, 45,800, 1% dedicated to infrastructure, 61,000. And so all of the other things that, our day-to-day operations and the inflationary pressures that were there only accounted for $61,200. So there's a couple of things that, we can certainly take a look at. One, kind of trying to get an understanding from council where we would like to go next in terms of the budget process, what additional steps you would like staff to take and what options you'd like to explore. So just a couple that are outlined here. Council could decide to hold approving the 2024 budget until the St. Lawrence Lodge knows their funding for 24-25, which we would expect after the provincial budget in March. We could consider increasing the cost of bag tags by 25 cents. Every 25 cents would equate to approximately $25,800 in additional revenue. We could take 2/3 of the provincial one-time funding that we received in 2023 and apply it to the 2024 increase. This is a stopgap measure only, which means when we go to start the 25 budget, we're already missing that revenue from the process. Or you could use the 50,000 from the sale of the lot on Churchill Road to offset the increase. Again, it's a one-time stopgap, and anything that you use in terms of reserves to help support or decrease the operating increase, then it will start us in the hole in the 2025 budgeting process. Thank you.
Councillor Kirkby.
To you, Mayor Shankar. Matthew, when we go back to the apartment buildings there, just for clarification, and I know I probably asked this last year and I should have got the answer myself. An apartment building is how many units?
Those over 6 units.
Those over 6. So if I have a downtown business with apartments above that are over 6, it's considered an apartment building?
I believe so.
And just while I'm speaking, I guess, so currently garbage tags are at $1.50 per tag, right? We've lost about 15,000. If I may speak freely here, I'm in favor of increasing the tag price, and for a couple of reasons. One, we are pushing green initiatives. We know people are using bigger bags, although they're only supposed to accept 50-pound bags. I feel like they've probably accepted a bit more, speaking maybe from experience at times. I don't weigh them, but when you lift them, they're a little heavy. I would propose, raising the tags 50 cents to be $2 a tag, which is $2 per bag. We don't limit the amount of bags in Prescott, but it would be one way to force people to use recycling and possibly composting, so it is it would force people to evaluate the amount of waste that they're generating, and it would also generate revenue for the town that would be longstanding. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? Okay. Councillor Young, then Councillor Campbell. Oh, then Ruth, I got you.
Okay. Thank you, Mayor Shankar. With respect to the bag tags, I did kind of look around to see what our neighboring municipalities were. And we definitely are low on that. My only caution is that if we're going to increase taxes and then increase bag tags at the same time, it kind of, I don't know, like a bag tag is something you use all the time, like groceries. And to me, that kind of hits hard when you're also facing a tax increase, if that makes any sense. The other thing is, I'm not in favor of one-time gap measures at all. It just puts us behind the eight ball when the next budget comes down. All I have to say.
Thank you. Counselor Campbell, then Counselor Lockett.
For increasing the cost of the bag tags, I would say if we were to do it incrementally, so 25 cents this round and another 25 next round.
Agree with that. Counselor Lockett?
Yes, hi, thank you, Mayor Shankar. I agree too that we probably should start with the bag tags. I don't like the one-time gap. I don't like that at all. And like Councillor McConnell, I just lost my train of thought here on my other thing. Oh, it was the St. Lawrence Lodge. I don't feel that we can approve our budget until we know what our responsibility is to them. And my understanding is we've been trying to get an answer from them. We've been trying to set up a meeting with them. And until we know exactly what's going on, I don't think we can approve our own budget. That's just my feeling.
Okay, thank you. Counselor McConnell?
I agree with Ruth completely. I don't think there's necessity to rush this thing through. We're March now. I think if we can get an answer from Shakespeare, from St. Lawrence Lodge in April or early May, that would be the prudent thing to do, because in my experience, you never know. Sometimes governments, we're reading the paper every day where government has decided, well, they give the school in Brockville another $1 million or something like that. It's not like they actually have it to give it away, but they do it anyway. And it's all coming from one pair of pants, which is ours. But if it doesn't come out of the pockets that we use the most often, it doesn't hurt as much. So I agree with Ruth. I would like to defer this till I hear an exact figure from St. Lawrence Lodge. Top of that, we've gotten away from doing things the way we used to. We had some awful looking budget increases sitting in front of us in years back, and your mom would be well aware of that, Justin. We went through it line by line, and I'm not suggesting we do this, but I'm suggesting possibly that we each take a look at the budget and maybe see if we can't each come out with some lines that we think could be shaved, and go from there. I also agree with the 25% bag thing, that two of us, I know you said 50, but I think 25, given the tax increases, is reasonable. Thank you.
Thank you. Just before I go to 5 minutes. So if, the worst case scenario, St. Lawrence Lodge doesn't change, we don't add any more revenue, it's 4.57, which is pretty good because it's 3.57 plus 1% for infrastructure. I think I agree. Let's wait and see what St. Lawrence Lodge, but at least we know that they can't come in higher, can they?
Certainly not.
So, worst case scenario, we're 4.57. I think you just increase the bag tags by just 25 cents this year, and if we need to, we'll do it again next year. But that 25.8, what could bring that number down to probably like 150. Right? Oh, you're gonna do the math? So, it's still gonna be low, and then we're not using stopgap measures. I think we earmark some of that money to go towards some either project, or we're gonna need some of the money here to offset our decision with the long-term care homes, right? So we can use some of that money there too. Because then we're not starting in the hole. What that number come to? thought it was a computer.
Had to figure out what I'm putting in there.
Sorry. But I mean, 25.8 is almost 0.5%, right? Just a little less than that.
There's a question.
Yeah, hold on, I have Justin
Well,
and then Mary, then you,
intern.
4.2.
4.2.
Very good.
So 4.2 is palatable, and that's just raising that. We're not using any stopgap measure. Okay, Councilor Kirkby?
I just want to clarify a couple of things. One, if we proposed the 50-cent bag tag, I was hoping that it would shave off a few percentages of the tax increase. And for the simple reason is it would save, so there is building owners, right? Apartment building owners, right? Although the tax is built into rent, it's not seen from the person that is the renter, right? But they have direct usage of our baggage system. So my thought was, if we could put close to $55,000 in extra garbage revenue, that would possibly shave almost 1% off, close to it, off the overall increase. And in my opinion, it would save money in the industrial, in the commercial, and the apartment buildings, all things that we're trying to retain and attract, and put the onus on everyone that is a user of the system. So
I just remember when the Legion raised the cost of a beer 10 cents, and it was almost a rampage. So
I mean, I'm speaking as a bag user
I
in
know,
Prescott.
but I mean, you're also gonna get people saying it's $1.50, it's gone up 33%.
Yeah,
But I think a quarter you might get away with.
I think it was $2 way back in the day when I lived out in Lynn.
I think some of the neighboring communities are $4.
Yeah,
Right.
just to be clear, and that was over 17 years ago. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Councilor Campbell?
So just a question, a while ago, we charged user fees for going swimming, $2, going public skating for $2. Is there a conscious rationale why we've stopped all that?
User fees for Prescott residents or outside residents?
Prescott.
Okay,
Well, I mean, as a Prescott resident, I would go to the pool and I would pay $2 to swim.
do we still do that?
We don't, everything's free. So I just wondered if there was a conscious rationale for not charging people for using our services.
All people, I believe is what she's,
Yeah, no,
right?
Yeah, yeah,
Yes.
and you want to charge our Prescott residents?
we used to be charged. I'm just asking what happened to that.
Do we have an answer?
I think it was before my time, but if I was to guess, then I think it has more to do with that it affects the most vulnerable people being able to not access services, even in a small amount.
Made it fair for everyone. Okay. 1 sec. Councilor McConnell?
On the user fees, if I may, really concur, garbage tags a user fee. We didn't use the car charge for picking up garbage at all. You put it out and it gets thrown in the back of Doty Turkey's dump truck and went to Maynard's, and that was the end of it. And if you were really lucky, one of your neighbors had a pickup or a trailer and you jumped on and took it out, you brought as much back as you took out, but those days are gone. And a user fee really is a garbage bag tag. We don't do garbage free anymore. We also don't, but it was a decision that we made a number of years ago. What do we charge for? And it seemed reasonable to charge for garbage, but not for the pool, not to use the rink. And I mean, this is a new council, and it's not new now, it's a year old, but all those things can be revisited. And it's just what we decide that is the way it goes. I don't like user fees, quite frankly, because as was mentioned, unfortunately, some of the people that really could use those places and those services, they can't afford it. And if they have to pay, maybe the kids don't get to do that. You know, our library is free. If you belong out of town, it's not. We do charge minimally for Walker House, I believe, but you pay more as an out-of-town resident. So there are some things we charge for, there are things we don't charge for. We could look to see if we wanted to alter that somehow. I don't think it's going to make a great deal of difference though, and if we are looking at a substantial tax increase, I have a tough time adding on user fees as well. And as far as the garbage tags go, it's generally the people that have a lot of children, people in their family, they're the ones that put out the most garbage. I mean, I only put out a bag every 2 weeks now, since we got that food, whatever you want to call it. Thank you. Yeah, I keep telling my wife it's a food processor, but she won't believe me. Anyway, so I'm not a big fan of user fees. Thanks.
Just to touch through you, Mayor Shankar, a lot of the public skating is funded, it's sponsored. So by Tim Hortons, Canadian Tire, stuff like that. So there is some of that. I grew up, I believe that the pool was 50 cents and it eventually went to $1 and public skating was $1. You know, I don't know if we're there, but I did hear that previously we still have sponsors out for public skating and stuff like that. So I think most of that's covered. That's where the idea of, just to give you an idea of like an e-donation that we can have on different facilities like the library or i.e. the dive park, right? Would be a potential thing where, you know, it does happen in different townships. So if Lee is a big diver from Ottawa and he really likes it here, he may decide to donate based on use or through you know, social media or public knowledge that it's there, right? But user fees have some have been covered is, I guess, my point.
No, I was just wondering where they went.
Okay. Anyone else?
I just had a
Yeah, go ahead.
when I was in Florida, there's a lot of toll roads. We have a new track at the arena. Maybe we could do each lap with a toll.
Quarter in.
I don't know.
I talked to a guy the other day who did 80 laps. Wow. I was like, wow, that's a lot of laps. Okay. Nothing cool?
So I think my only question would be, is there a number that council is comfortable with? Or is palatable that you would like us to work towards?
For me, anything around 4% is good. I know last year we were 3.68. You know, it's like Kmart. If you get 3.99, I'd be really happy.
That's for the bags.
Hey?
No, so we'll bring this back as a further consideration, and if we're holding on, if the will of council is to hold on until St. Lawrence Lodge knows, then we have a little bit of time for further discussion.
Okay.
Last one.
One more?
Yeah. Is there any downside, Matthew, to holding off to revisit the budget in April or May?
Don't think so. If you want to institute the bag tags before that, then certainly that can come back to council for discussion, but you know, we don't send out bills to July, so.
So through you, Mayor Shankar, I would like to see the bag tag cost come back sooner than later because it would start generating revenue for us right away.
Okay.
So would you like that to come back, not next week, perhaps the second meeting in March?
Yes, please.
So if council's okay with that, then we'll bring that back.
Okay, good.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, 13 is resolutions, which there are none tonight. And 14 is two bylaws. 14.1 is the amending council appointments bylaw. Recommendation reads that bylaw 07-2024, being a bylaw to amend bylaw number 45-2023, being a bylaw to appoint members of council to boards and commissions, to appoint members of councils to the committees of council, and the appointments of deputy mayor for the remainder of 2023 and for the year 2024, be read and passed, signed by the mayor and clerk, and sealed by the seal of the corporation. Can I have a mover and seconder? Councillor Burton, Councillor Kirkby, all in favor? Carried, thank you. 14.2 is a bylaw 08-2024, being a bylaw to amend bylaw number 52-2022, being a bylaw to enact rules and regulations for the operation of a water supply system, waterworks distribution system, wastewater treatment system in the town of Prescott, and the establishment of rates and wastewater services related to the operation of the system in the town of Prescott, be read and passed, signed by the mayor and clerk, and sealed by the seal of the corporation. Mover and seconder for that one. Councillor Kirkby, Councillor Young, all in favor? Good, thank you, carried. 15 is new business. 15.1 is the United Counties of Prescott Russell Resolution of Support. And 15.2 is the City of Sarnia. So item 15.1 is a resolution from the United Counties of Prescott and Russell regarding social and economic prosperity review. Councillor Kirkby brought this forward.
I did.
You want to speak to it?
Sure. Through you, Mayor Shankar. So this resolution, right, is from Prescott Russell. It mainly is talking about the need for the province and even the federal government to step forward, mostly in the provincial here. And by the way, just to be clear, this isn't a problem that was created by the current provincial government. A lot of this stems from 1990, when a lot of the provincial budget for municipalities was downloaded actually to the municipalities. So nearly a third of municipal that should be provincial responsibility. 50 municipalities have already signed this. It's going around quite a bit. I mean, some of the notes that I took here was that some of the spending is just, it hasn't kept up, right? The costs of services to the municipalities has increased and the funding has stayed the same from the province. This motion here is to support the rest of the municipalities across Ontario to lobby for more funding and more responsibility taken on by the provincial government and at times the federal government. So.
What do we do next? Ms. Falcon?
Through you, Mayor Shankar, I do have a draft motion here that I can.
You can move.
That Council Corporation of the Town of Prescott support the resolution from the United Counties of Prescott Russell regarding a commitment from the province of Ontario to undertake a social and economic prosperity review. The Association of Municipalities of Ontario's Social and Economic Prosperity Review, and that a copy of this resolution be sent to the Premier of Ontario, the Minister of Municipal Affairs and Housing, the Minister of Finance, the Association of Municipalities of Ontario, and all municipalities in Leeds and Grenville.
Okay, so you want to make that motion?
I'll make that motion.
Do you have a seconder? Councillor Burton? I'm going to just call the question. All in favor? Okay. Thank you, Councillor Kirkby.
Okay.
All right, the next one is City of Sarnia regarding carbon tax. That's yours.
Thank you, Mayor Shankar. Again, the main point here is the carbon tax, right, is going to continue to triple. It's going up. And it's at a time right now where taxes are high enough. The cost of living is high, inflation, right? And this is just a tax that continues to grow. And it's, you know, it's for the right reasons, but I feel like it's poor timing right now, you know, especially based on the situation we're in, the economic situation we're in. And so, I mean, the government continues to try to phase out fossil fuels and all these other things that currently we just don't have a better alternative in most locations. You could take Edmonton, where they rely on heat pumps during this winter, and people almost had frozen pipes out there, where gas sits there. It's a long story, but this one here again is to lobby the federal government. This one here, instead of the provincial, is to do a stop and pause on the carbon tax.
Okay. Do you have that resolution, Ms. Valkil?
I do, through you, Mayor Schenker. That the Council of the Corporation of the Town of Prescott supports the resolution from the City of Sarnia regarding the carbon tax, and a copy of this resolution be sent to the Premier of Ontario, the Minister of Finance, the Minister of Environment, Conservation and Parks, and all municipalities in Queens and Grenville.
Would you like to move that? Do we have a seconder? Councillor Lockett, do we want any discussion? Or, okay, I'll call the question. All in favor? Carried. Thank you, Councillor Kirkby. Thank you. All right, 16, there are no notices of motion. Oh, yeah.
Under new business.
Oh, yeah, I'm sorry, you did tell me.
Yeah, sorry. I just wanted to mention that Shakespeare is having an event coming up March 9th. It's going to be at Renegades at 6:30. It's going to be called Kindred Spirits. It's going to be a cocktail party. And it's a fundraiser event for Shakespeare, and our artistic directors are going to be on hand. There's going to be a little bit of an auction and specialty drinks and some really nice hors d'oeuvres. So it's $45 per person, and you can get tickets through our manager, Ingrid, or any one of the board members at Shakespeare. So
What time on the 9th?
it starts at 6:30, March 9th. That's a Saturday, and we're also going to be having live music after. So you can stay and listen to some wonderful music.
Okay, thank you, Councillor Burton.
Thank you.
Okay, any other new business? 16 is notice of motion, which there are none this evening. And 17 is the mayor's proclamation. All right. The proclamation for March 2024 is Amyloidosis Awareness Month. Okay, whereas March is Amyloidosis Awareness Month, a month dedicated to raising awareness, funding research, and supporting those living with amyloidosis and their loved ones. Whereas amyloidosis is a group of diseases that occurs with an abnormal protein known as amyloid, builds up in the tissues and organs of the body. Left untreated, the disease can result in organ failure and can be fatal. Whereas amyloidosis can mimic the signs and symptoms of more common medical conditions, and the disease can be challenging to diagnose. And whereas amyloidosis often affects people who are older or middle-aged. However, younger people have been diagnosed with this disease. And whereas some of the signs and symptoms of amyloidosis can include shortness of breath, weight loss, fatigue, swelling in the ankles and legs, numbness in the hands and feet, foamy urine, carpal tunnel syndrome, bruising around the eyes, and an enlarged tongue. And whereas early diagnosis can lead to better outcomes for both patients and their families, and whereas raising awareness about all the amyloidosis diseases, including hereditary and non-hereditary forms of the disease, can contribute to the building of healthier communities across Canada. Now, therefore, the Council of the Corporation of the Town of Prescott does hereby proclaim March 2024 as Amyloidosis Awareness Month in the Town of Prescott. Dated this day, 26th February 2020. Thank you. Any media today? No. Good. Okay. Item 19 is closed session. The motion reads that council move into closed session at 8:20 p.m. to discuss matters pertaining to 19.1 is closed session minutes from February 5th. 19.2 is identifiable individual committee applications. Under section 239(2)B of the Municipal Act, personal matters about an identifiable individual, including municipal or local board employees. And 19.3, purchase and sale matters. Under section 239(2)C of the Municipal Act, the proposed or pending acquisition or disposition of land by the municipality or local board, and that the CEO, treasurer, clerk, deputy clerk, and economic development officer remain in the room. Can I have a mover and seconder, please? Councillor Kirkby, Councillor Campbell. Any questions, any discussion? All in favor?